Hello, this video is all about compound interest or CI. So this is the principle given to us. Rate of interest is 10% and we have to calculate compound interest for 4 years. So in CI, we calculate interest on the principal for a period. So let's say the period here is 1 year. Period is of 1 year. So we calculate interest over the principal. Principal at the start of the year is 1000 rupees. We calculate 10% of 1000, the interest generated would be 100. After a year, we add the interest to the principal to get the outstanding amount. So amount at the end of 1 year would be 1100 rupees. Okay. Now in the next year, the interest is calculated on this outstanding amount. This amount becomes the new principal now. So amount at the start of the year would be 1100 and now 10% of this amount is to be calculated for interest generated in the second year. So 10% of 1100 would be 110. This would be the interest generated in second year. In simple interest, interest generated each year was same. Okay, in compound interest, it is different for each year, as the principal itself is changing. Okay, 1100 is the new principal now. So in compound interest, interest in the next period is calculated on the outstanding amount each year. That is the principal sum plus previously accumulated interest. Okay, so amount at the end of second year would be 1210 and next year's principal would be 1210 and interest would be calculated on this amount. This would be 121. 10% of 1210 is 121 and add this interest to the new outstanding amount or the new principal and get the amount at the end of year as 1331. Again, this will become the new principal and we'll get 133.1 as the interest and final amount would be 1464.1. Whereas in simple interest, interest generated in the first year would be rupees 100. Interest each year would be calculated on this principal itself. So every year we will get interest as 10% of this rupees 1000. That would be 100 each year. Okay, interest generated would be 100 each year. So amount at the end of first year would be 1100 in simple interest. In second year it would be 1200, then 1300 and 1400. So total compound interest generated here, we started with rupees 1000 and we ended with rupees 1464.1 as the final amount. So interest generated in 4 years would be 1464.1 minus 1000, that would be 464.1. Or you can add these interest values. These are the interest generated for each year. You can add these values and get 464.1 as the total compound interest. Whereas total simple interest would be 100 plus 100 plus 100 plus 100, that is 400. Okay. For first year, interest generated in compound interest as well as simple interest would be same only. Things will change next year onwards. So you must have got an idea of how compound interest works from this table. Okay. This was manual calculation. Same could be done using this formula as well. Amount is equal to P, principal, into 1 plus R upon 100 whole raised to N, where P is principal, R is rate of interest and N is number of compounding period. This we will discuss in detail in the next video. For now, you can put time period here, time period T here. Okay, number of years could be put here for now. So this formula gives you amount. Okay, this does not give you compound interest. For compound interest, you will have to subtract principal from the amount. So compound interest would become P into 1 plus R upon 100 whole raised to N minus principal. Okay, if we take out P common, then this would be the final format. Let's solve a few questions. What would be the compound interest on a sum of rupees 6500? This is the principal. This is the rate of interest and time period is 2 years. So just substitute the values and we will get 6500 into 1 plus 14 upon 100 whole square minus 1. This is 7 upon 50. It will become 57 upon 50. And square of that, square of 57 is 3249 upon square of 50 is 2500 minus 1. This would be 6500 into 749 upon 2500. 513 and this would be equal to 1950 rupees. Okay, that would be the value of compound interest. Next question. The amount of rupees 800 is compounded annually at a rate of 12.5%. So this is the principal. This is the rate of interest. 12.5% is 12.5 upon 100, that is 1 upon 8, multiplying factor of 1 upon 8. We have to find the amount to be paid after 3 years. So for 3 years, most of the time manual calculations are easier than the formulas. So we will be doing manual calculation here. Principal is rupees 800. You have to understand that this amount of rupees 800 simply means the sum of rupees 800. Okay, this does not mean principal plus compound interest. This is sum of rupees 800. This you will have to understand from the language of the question. Okay, amount in English also means sum of rupee. Okay, and this amount here, find the amount to be paid back. This is what? This is principal plus compound interest. Okay, so we started with the principal of rupees 800. Interest generated in year 1, these values would be the interest values. Interest generated in year 1 would be 12.5% of rupees 800, that is 800 into 1 by 8, that would be 100 rupees. Okay, so outstanding amount at the end of year 1, would be 800 plus 100. 800 plus 100. This would be the amount at the end of year 1, which will become principal for the year 2, principal for next year. So interest for second year would be calculated on this outstanding amount. It would be 800 plus 100 into 1 by 8. Okay, 12.5% of this outstanding amount. So 800 into 1 by 8 is 100 only, plus 100 into 1 by 8 is 12.5. Now outstanding amount at the end of year 2 will become this interest plus the previous amount. Okay, that would be outstanding amount at the end of year 1, 800 plus 100 plus this interest, that is 100 plus 12.5. Now interest for year 3 would be calculated on this outstanding amount. So 1 upon 8 into this amount, that would be 1 upon 8 into 800 is 100, plus 1 upon 8 into 100 is 12.5, plus 1 upon 8 into 100 is 12.5 again, plus 1 upon 8 into 12.5 is 1.56. So the compound interest generated over 3 years would be this much. Add all these values. These are the compound interest or the interest generated at the end of each year. Add these values to get overall compound interest. Okay. Easiest way to calculate this is that each year we get same interest as the previous year plus R percent of that interest. So we started with principal of rupees 800. We get 12.5% of 800 as the interest for first year. Then for next year we get this interest. Okay, 100 comes as it is, and then 12.5% of 100. Okay, next year we get this interest. 100 plus 12.5 will come, 100 plus 12.5 will come as it is, plus 12.5% of this interest. So each year's interest is interest of the previous year plus interest on that interest. So compound interest is often referred as interest over interest. Okay. So total interest generated in 3 years would be this sum 100 plus 100 plus 100 is 300 plus 12.5 3 times is 37.5 plus 1.56. This is 339.06. And amount that is paid back would be principal plus compound interest. 800 plus 339.06 is 1139.06. So this was the manual way of calculating compound interest. Last but not the least, we have concept of compound interest as successive percentage change. Pause and go through this question. In compound interest, we write 1 plus r upon 100. We write this in the formula. This is what? This is increment by r percent. Right? This is increment by r percent. This gives the multiplying factor for increment by r percent. And when we put a power of n here, that means successive increment of r percent. This being multiplied n times means successive increment by r percent. So we have an interest rate of 10% here. That means we will have to increase this principal successively by 10%. So for first year, 10% increment means a multiplying factor of 11 by 10. 10% is 10 upon 100, that is 1 by 10. And increment means 1 plus 1 by 10, that is a multiplying factor of 11 by 10. So amount at the end of first year would be 1000 into 11 by 10, that is 1100 rupees. For next year, we will have 10% increment on this amount. Okay, this is the outstanding amount now. 10% increment on this would be 1100 into 11 by 10, that is 1210, as we have seen in the table as well. Okay. For next year, 10% increment on this will give 1331 as the amount at the end of third year. So you see, compound interest is nothing but successive percentage changes. If we have to find a single equivalent percentage change that's equal to two successive percentage increment of 10% each, that would be, you remember this formula, a plus b plus ab upon 100. It gives equivalent percentage for 2 percentage change by a percent and b percent successively. So here a and b are 10% each. So equivalent percentage change for these two successive percentage increments would be 10 plus 10 plus 10 into 10 upon 100. That would be 20 plus 1, 21%. So instead of incrementing by 10% successively, we could have straight away increased 1000 by 21% and got the same value. Okay. We have to find overall equivalent percentage change. So for 3 years, net increment would be 21% and then 10% increment. Overall increment, net increment would be 21 plus 10 plus 21 into 10 upon 100. That would be 33.1%. This is the net increment over 3 years. So compound interest at 10% rate for 3 years will simply get you a net increment of 33%, 33.1% overall. Now if we want same overall increment under simple interest for 2 years, okay, this is what's given in the second part of the question. We want same interest under simple interest in 2 years. So we can divide this overall increment by 2. 33.1 upon 2 will give 16.5% as the rate of interest for simple interest. So same principal of rupees 1000 at 16.5% rate will give this same amount at the end of 2 years under simple interest. Basically in simple interest, same interest is generated every year. So same increment happens every year to the principal. If this much increment is happening in 2 years, 1 year's rate of interest would be 16.5%. 16.5% increment will happen in 1 year in simple interest. Okay, so this was all about basics of simple interest as well as compound interest. There are few other template questions that are frequently asked in compound interest topic, such as installments and difference between CI and SI for 2 years, for 3 years. All these we will be covering in the next videos. Thank you.